Welcome to Toffee Blue View, your source for all things Everton. I'm Gerry. Terry and Max are with me in apparently very bright locations on one side. So, gentlemen, story came out today, being Thursday. So obviously this will come out on Friday. So bear that in mind. It was in the Liverpool Echo about a summer overhaul for the Everton squad. The Echoes, I think, Terry, you said it's Kirkbride that put it out. So usually pretty reliable source. I think Everton tend to feed him information often. But the Echo understands that the Blues are planning to work with a squad of 20 outfield players, 3 goalkeepers, and a handful of youngsters. And by the way, some of these are direct quotes from the piece. So I just want to go ahead and say these are their words, and we're just going to be talking about it. Possibly almost two teams worth of players would either be sold or loaned or released this summer. And Europa League qualification could result in the planned squad being expanded, but in that case, the preference would be to promote some of the title-winning U23 players. Additionally, the article goes on to talk about how we want to wrap up permanent deals for Gomez and Zuma, a right back, a right wing, and someone up front. And it seems like those are target areas for us. And then they list a lot of players who could be on their way out, we're not sure where they stand. Players like Vlasic, who I had heard that maybe he's in our plans for next season, but he really doesn't want to come back, is what it sounds like.
That was where he's set on going, so maybe we're preparing for offloading him, which is unfortunate, I think. But
yeah. And Onyekuru, who I know we're going to be trying to get. We think we're a lot more confident about the work permit this time around, I believe. But is he in the plans regardless? Mm-hmm. Hard to say, because I know we could make something on him if we sold him, more than what we bought him for sure. And then there's a lot of players. There's some players that are on their way out. If we can sell them, like Morales. Nias, Luke Garbett, Shani Tereshaj, remember Williams. Him? Ashley Williams, who I think is finishing up his contract. He's going to leave for free probably. I believe that's what's going on. Jags and Baines, what's going on with them? I think McCarthy's probably going to push for a move, is what it seems like. And then there's a lot of U23 players or players that have been playing or that have been on loan. What are we going to do with Beningame? What are we going to do with Kieran Dowell? Connolly, Pennington. Mason Holgate, I think it says in the article, is probably coming back. We're going to listen to offers for Besic. And that's all my information. All right, so guys, let's have a big discussion. We're going to start with Terry because last time we started with Max, and we don't want Terry to think we don't have any more love. So, Terry, how does all this strike you? It would be a lot of turnover in the locker room.
I think if they could pull it off in that exact way, it'd be ideal. Like, managers prefer smaller squads in that regard because they get to work with them a lot closer. It's going to be difficult to get rid of that many players. It never works like that. It's not football.
Yeah, no way.
It's not FIFA. Like, there's a lot of players who are on decent salaries and aren't very good, and the clubs that they would improve can't afford to pay them. I think we're going to have to subsidise some wages for some players to get rid of them. Some of them are straightforward, like Ashley Williams. He'll be out of contract. He won't be renewed. I wouldn't be surprised if his locker was cleared out even last summer when he went on loan. That was probably always the plan.
I didn't mention Balassi, by the way, who supposedly is not in Gomez. Gomez. I'm saying it like he's the manager. Silva's plans. Sorry, Terry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
It depends really on which player is. I mean, if that is true about 20 players being up for leaving, I think at least one, if not both, of Jagielka and Baines will be not retained. Be a shame, especially for Baines from my own point of view, because he's one of my favourites ever Everton players. But I think Marcel Brands and Marco Silva and Farhat Moshiri, I think they want to, kick on with a new vision for the club, so to build around youth and long term. They want to build a young squad that develops just as we're going into the new stadium. That's the long term plan, I imagine. Some of them will be harder to get rid of than others. Like I think, you release some players. I think the likes of Garbutt, the likes of McCarthy, the players who are going to have 1 year left on their deal, possibly Nias, things like that as well. I'm not sure on that one. They might just...
I think he's coming to the end of his contract.
Yeah,
I think
like
that's
they'll
what
have
they
1
said.
year next year. Anyone like that, Morales
Yeah.
as well, I think they will either be sold for a nominal fee or they'll go out on loan for a loan fee, and then just like Williams this year, won't be retained when they come back. And we'll just get, if not all of the wages, a portion of the wages off the books. The ones we'll struggle to sell are the ones we want money for, basically. Sandro Ramirez, I really, I'll be very surprised if anyone comes in and buys him, even for a low price, because unless he decides to surprise us and drop his wages, which I can't see any player doing anywhere. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of players to get rid of. It wouldn't really impact the team. I think I can name, I won't do it because, people will switch off, but I could name 20 players on professional senior contracts at the club in various places, like they'll be on loan, some of them are in the squad, without even touching the first team squad of 18 players, maybe one or two, like a Schneiderlin or a Tosin, who do play but aren't, key players. Who the six are who come in, I think even if they bring in 6 new players, I think the starting 11 from the last few games, if everything comes off and we wave a magic wand, it's still going to be the same. I think these 6 players won't all just go in like some people would want them to. I think Coleman still starts at right back next season. I think for the start of next season, I think Calvert-Lewin still starts up front, and then over the time they slowly get introduced and hopefully they can gel. We've seen names linked with in positions that have been mentioned in this article, like Rafael Leao, is that how you say it? The Lille striker. David Neres, Ajax for right wing. I think they said as well, centre fielder as well. We were linked with Lucas Tossart for at Lyon to replace.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a great player.
I mean, in a perfect world, that'd all come off, and then you just next season build on that. 20 outfield players, young kids like Ben Gibson, Lewis Gibson. I keep doing that. Lewis Gibson, Josh Bowler, players like that come in and see, Robinson, who's come back from loan, Holgate, see how they do in the squad. But ideally, I think it's brilliant. It's just, can you pull off that many ins and outs? It's not easy to sell players.
Yeah, especially somebody like a Cuco Martina, players like that who have a contract with us. I think we're going to have a lot of trouble. It's going to be the same problems we had last summer. It's going to be, very much. The only difference is some of these aren't going to have much contract left, so their value is going to have gone down. So I think we'll be more willing to sell for cheaper on some of those. But yeah, I saw the list and I was sitting there thinking, in theory, that all works. In theory.
Yeah.
But it's not. You're right. It's not like Football Manager. It's not like FIFA.
Did you also?
Sorry,
Max. Did you also like that I wouldn't go through the 20 players and then I proceeded to go through the 20 players? Pictures there, didn't I? Sorry, Max. Go on.
They didn't turn away though.
Completed the full analysis, but I'd just refer back to one of the first things that Marcel Brands said when he came in as director of football. He said, we've got 38 players and none of them are getting any younger. Yeah. So my response to seeing Everton's squad overhaul, it's not brilliant. It's I'm not surprised. We've still got a hell of a lot of dead wood to shift. Terry's just literally rattled them all off. But in terms of the wage structure, it's completely blown out of proportion since over the last couple of years under the past hierarchies that have been in charge. But at the moment under Marco Silva, right now, I feel like this is the first time since that core squad of Barkley, Stones, Lukaku, Delafeu, since they disbanded, I think now for the first time we've got our 11 on paper, obviously, and we, Kurt Zouma and Andre Gomez pending, but we've got our 11 players now, and we tend to lean on the same, say, 3 substitutions: Theo Walcott, Tom Davies, and possibly Tosin. But even Tosin was another one that was listed at the what was he listed as? 20 million. The club believe his valuation to be, which for me, I don't feel like we're going to get someone coming in and offering 20 million for Cenk Tosun. So if we are wanting to sell him, play him. Personally, I feel like I know that carrot's still dangling in terms of the 7th place, but obviously it is out of our hands. I know that the development of Calvert-Lewin is a product of his game time, like because he's been seeing so much game time that, you know, we've been seeing the rewards of that. However, as you said about it earlier, Gerry, you know, we have got to start putting a few of these players in the shop window, albeit a lot of them are out on loan. But you know, we've got to sell them. Like, it's interesting because Mo Besic is an interesting one, because I'd actually take Mo Besic on, you know, particularly with Idrissa Gueye, that kind of still being up in the air whether or not he's going to get that PSG move. And to see a like-for-like replacement for Idrissa Gueye of the same calibre, I don't think that's going to be a problem that we can fix in one summer. So I'd rather have Mo Besic there as that kind of harrying defensive midfielder with legs. But I don't know. I suppose that's subjective and down to your personal opinion of how you'd utilise the current squad. But I suppose in terms of the pecking order and the hierarchy of those 20 players that we're looking to shift, I think there are a few that could possibly, like I said earlier, Vlasic, and you said Onyekuru, you know, there are still a few that could, you know, lend a hand in being part of the squad.
Yeah, Tosin's a weird situation because he's come out and said, I'm really happy at Everton. All right? Now, let's dissect this a bit. All right? Is he saying, I'm really happy at Everton not playing? I don't think that's the case. I think he's saying, I'm really happy getting paid what I'm getting paid by Everton. That's what I think he's really saying. I think he actually requested to go out on loan in January, I believe. He told them, he said, I'm willing to go out and get stronger and play on loan somewhere. I think he said, I'm cool with that. And Silva was like, I want to keep you here because we need a little bit more attacking strength. But Tosin's a stranger. I think he'll go out on loan. I don't even know if we're going to sell him, because the idea of getting 20 for a player that didn't even play that much this season. But then again, the market's just nuts these days. Crazy. What you get for players.
It's pretty interesting that the most common point that a certain Sam Allardyce seems to bring up is that we need, you know, this centre forward. I think people just forgetting that he was the man at the helm of the £27 million move of Cenk Tosun. I mean, I know it may not have necessarily been his target, but he was the man in the hot seat at the time of that transfer. So,
yeah, Terry's a big fan when we drop Sam Allardyce quotes about the current regime.
I mean, if we were to sell 19 players and one of the surplus to requirement players were to stay, I'd pick Tosun. I think if you've got 20 players, as is the plan, you can't just have two strikers all season. You Calvert-Lewin and a new player. You need a third striker. And I think Tosun brings something. I know he's not really suited to the way Silva wants to play. He's not very fast, but I think he's an excellent finisher. He is, you know, he does seem very happy at the club for whatever reason. I would subscribe to the same belief as you that it's probably the money. I think another Premier League team comes in for him and he happily goes. And I wouldn't certainly be knocking back any halfway decent bids for him, but you know what I mean. When the injuries pile up and you've got a lot of games and all that, it doesn't hurt to have another striker there who's experienced, and we might get 20 million for him. Like Liverpool got 19 million for Dominic Solanke. Now I know he's young and English, but he hasn't scored goals like Tosun has in the Premier League. Tosun's at least proved he can do it at this level, whereas Solanke really hasn't. He was just bought on potential, whereas Tosun, I think, good example of a club who would be well served coming in for him are Crystal Palace. Benteke doesn't really do it for them. Batshuayi might go back to Chelsea and get a loan elsewhere or whatever. I think a club like Palace, who play to the strengths of Tosun, who play, you know, with a strong forward, like a target man, that kind of thing, I think he'd be great there. Just, he's not a right fit for Everton in our perfect scenario, in our strongest team, but he's definitely got value, I think. Just depending on what his wages are like. If they're super high, then he's got to go, but if they're reasonable, he's very low on the sell list to me, even though he is on it.
To be fair to Tosun, I'm going to try to be fair to him here, all right? I haven't seen him play a lot with the squad performing the way they've been performing lately. You know what I mean? Ever since that Goodison derby, we've played better as a whole. It's like something clicked in our system, and so we haven't really gotten to see Tosin play and interact in that particular environment. To be fair to him, however, other times this season when he's had opportunities, he has had some wide open opportunities, and he has not shown the clinical finishing that. Terry, I feel like you and I definitely feel like he's got that in his locker. I'm not sure, Max. The only reason I didn't mention you is because Terry just said it. But I feel like I've always associated him as being clinical and not really having much pace compared to Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin is just a streak on the field. He's just flat line speed. And he's shown that he can hold the ball up really well, too. I'd love to see Tosin get more of an opportunity in the squad like that, having us playing like that. See if he's doing all the... Because he's a hard-working player. He is. Okay, nobody's really accused him of being lazy. It's just not right for the system. That's what we all think, I think, at this point. So, yeah, I'd like to see him given an opportunity, but not at a time when we're... you mentioned putting him in the shop window, Max. I'm sort of... I'm half and half on that because I want Calvert-Lewin to continue developing, So I'm iffy on it. I do think we're not going to get much money for him if we don't play him, and I don't think people are going to pay more than 15 for him if he's not playing this season. It's hard, but Palace was one of those squads, Terry, who supposedly wanted him when we bought him.
I think alone.
That was like the other team.
Alone with an option to buy will probably be the only way he goes out the door. I don't think anyone's going to stuff up that kind of money. Good. But alone with a price at the end would probably suit not just Everton and the player, but the buying club. And I think depending where he goes, he's got a very good chance of earning himself a move. He is a good player. He's just not. He's just not an Everton player, not at this time. Like Calvert-Lewin is the prototype striker. Like if the only thing he's missing from his game, Calvert-Lewin, is being clinical, and I think that's what we're going to look for in another striker. Calvert-Lewin, but scores more, and Tosin is just not that player. But he's one of the more difficult ones. I think a lot of the other players, like who've just got zero future, they're all self-explanatory. Like Balassi. Players like that, even if they come back, they're never going to play. So they need. It's not all down to Marcel Brands. They need their agents to find them moves, and then hopefully, if it all comes off the way we want it, we'll be a lot more lean and healthy as a club to go forward. Because we are carrying around a lot of baggage, a lot of dead wood, and they're taking massive amounts of money out the wage bill, which is probably stopping us bringing in players until they're gone. Because even the likes of Garbutt and that are apparently on like 30 grand a week, which adds up if you have like 2 teams worth of players who aren't contributing. How much better off will we be when we can say it happens, say the magic wand gets waved and we do all this. The summer after, we could go turn around and buy a proper game changing top player because we're free enough to do that. We've got the financial capability. Can't do that this summer. It's too many players dragging us down.
Yeah, I think it is going to be a long haul. Yeah, I think we just brought in too many players that aren't contributing in terms of key performance indicators, and they just haven't lived up to the hype. And to be fair, as it was mentioned in the article, it's going to be interesting to see how we lean on the under-23s league winning side. But being said, what better squad to lean on than a squad that just won the league?
Yeah, and I don't know, the more I think about some of these older players who we made mistakes by maybe giving contract re-ups, it's just probably not the smartest moves. Just some mistakes were made. But I love the idea, thinking about it, we've talked about how, Braun's previous club, where they're at right now. And it just, you salivate when you think about having this stable of young players coming through and everybody's on the same system. And it's exciting. It is. But I do think long haul is it's a patient game. Yeah, it's going to have to be. So, gents, anything else on this potential summer Okay, cool. Well, then that's it for the Summer Overhaul segment. This is our last video segment of this little series. So if you want to pop on over to the podcast, there's going to be a quiz. Terry and Max asking questions. Cage match. That's what this means. So you can check that out on the podcast. It's a classic match. These guys have to do a starting 11. It's not an easy one. So maybe you can. I couldn't do it. Let's just put it that way. But if you've been digging the videos, please subscribe to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. We sincerely appreciate it. If you want more Terry, check out Liverpool Echo fan Gerry. Check out his Twitter. He'll tell you when and where he's going to be there. Max, he does a lot of analysis as well, frequently appearing on the Toffee Blues website. He does a lot of analysis, Everton analysis on there as well. So check his Twitter. He'll tell you when he's going to be there. Yeah, and that's it. So pop on over to the pod if you want to hear the quiz. If not, we'll miss you. But let's just still hope for 3 points on Saturday. Gentlemen, I'll see you in a bit. Bye.